this. You plan your vacation, you spend thousands of dollars only to show up and find out your kids aren't tall enough to ride any of the rides. What do you do? Hey everyone, Ben and Ob here, and today we're at Universal Orlando. Ben and I are the classic childless millennials. We like to endearingly refer to ourselves as dinks. That's okay, we know it, we love it, we embrace it. Now, we are also a cool auntie and uncle, if I do say so myself. I have a 6- and 3-year-old niece and nephew who I absolutely love. It got me thinking though, because someday we want to bring them here to Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, and it made me think, if we brought them today, what would we be able to do with them? Today, we're gonna explore both studios and Islands of Adventure and tell you about the areas of the park that might be the best fit for your kiddos. We'll rate these areas on the best rating of an auntie scale we have possible of how well each area works for your kids. Let's dive right into the chaos and head into Minions Alley. I see strollers, I see kids, and I hear parents yelling at them. This seems like the right place to be. Minion Alley is the place to take your kids, at least one of them. They have 2 spectacularly themed and well-done rides for little ones. We have Minion Mayhem and we have VillainCon Minion Blast. Both are adorable in their own right, but I will tell you that Minion Mayhem is one of Ben's favorite rides over here in Studios. It's just adorable and we love Agnes. On top of that, they've got some really fun places to buy merch, from super silly fun stuff to the other side of the street, evil stuff, of course, because you have to have your opposites. And then additionally, there are some great spots to stop and grab a bite to eat. Particularly, we have the Minion Cafe, which is excellently themed and adorable if you want to take your kids in there to just feel like they are truly living a Minion life. With all of that, they have some wonderful meet and greets. In fact, I see some Minions right now, and people are lined up to see them. And they also bring out some other Illumination characters, I guess is what you call them. They bring out some other characters throughout the day as well that kids can do meet and greets with. However, there are cons to this area too. So let's talk about it. Minion Cafe, although well-themed, it is not the most delicious of places to eat. Ben and I aren't the biggest fans, although their Minion Tots, they don't miss on those. So let's hang out and show you a little around Minions here, Minions Alley. Stay away from all the strollers and enjoy our time. This place, 100%, would make me a cool auntie if I brought my niece here. We officially have come to the time where we're gonna rate
rankings
this area of Universal Studios based on the kid-themed space with meet and greets, with rides, and some adorable bakery options, let's be real. I'm gonna say I give this area a 8.5 out of 10 cool aunties.
I say 7.5, really because of the restaurants.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's only one main restaurant to stop at here, and in general, we aren't the biggest fan. I don't think kids will necessarily love the food options, aside from those tater tots.
Tater tots are delicious. But this next area that we're gonna go to in Studios has food that we absolutely, positively know kids will enjoy.
100%. Let's go. One of the reasons we kind of thought this video could be helpful is because when you go to the parks and you're walking, and you might be pushing a stroller and you're walking, and it's hotter than snot out, you don't really want to waste your time in the wrong spaces. So hopefully throughout the entirety of this video it helps you understand not only the great spaces in your park to take the kids, but also the great spaces in the park for you to take yourself to grab a nice drink and also make sure the kids have a little AC to cool off. We've made our way back to the New York section, and I'll give you some great views of it in the meantime. I'm over here where it's a little bit quieter to talk a little about what you can expect in the New York section of Universal Studios. Ooh, you can expect Vamos to start during the filming of this. When I was thinking about this section of the park and bringing kids back here, I'm gonna be honest with you, there were not a lot of things that came to my mind. There were 2. There's an arcade. Kids love arcades. Yes, you're about to spend quite a bit of money, but what is the cost of your child's happiness? Second, that came to my mind, there's a Starbucks back here, and that's a win for everyone.
New York is home to the Vamos show, so if your kids like to dance, the team members will absolutely make a memory of it and bring them on into the street so that they can enjoy a little bit of dancing and a little bit of salsa. I have all the confidence in my dance skills, however, I cannot dance. Your kid can probably dance far better than I can. But regardless, the Vamos dancers will break it down with them and it'll be a super cute memory for you to have from Universal.
Although we do love the Mummy, this is not a kid ride. This is a dark coaster thrill ride that is quite intense, but it will be something fun to look forward to for when they get older. If you found the Starbucks in New York, you're in the right place. Right across from Starbucks, you have Louie's Pizza, which is awesome. What kid doesn't like pizza? The slices are as big as your face, and they could probably feed a family of 4. Well, okay, maybe not 4, but at least 2 kids could eat 1 slice and be just fine. We love Louie's Pizza. It's very similar to kind of like going to Costco or Sam's Club and getting a giant slice there, and it doesn't really miss. Additionally, they've got meatball subs, they've got Caesar salads, and they've got gelato. So just options that I think work well for a family, but additionally, if you got a picky eater and they just want cheese, bread, and sauce, they got you. All right, so rating-wise.
Rating-wise.
What do you think for New York, Benjamin?
Because of Louie's.
I would agree that Louie's and Starbucks are really what's holding this area together for yourself and your kids.
In all reality,
4.
4.5?
4 out of 10 cool aunties. Grab a slice of pizza and keep moving.
This next one's gonna be controversial.
I don't think it's controversial at all. It's easy.
Well, I made an oopsie because I thought we were headed to the back of the park. We actually have one area which just kind of shows how
much you dislike it, huh?
uneventful this next section is.
Making our way into the San Francisco section of Universal Studios. We have one ride which shall not be named. We don't need to talk about it and you don't need to do it. But they do have a great bite to eat at Richter Burger.
I think the fact that Fast and Furious is closed actually enhances this area. So as we get to the rating, the fact that Fast and Furious just isn't open, we can't ride it, might actually make this go up.
Once you've made your way past that ride that shall not be named, that we need to talk about, we have Richter Burger, as well as we have Chez Alcatraz, and a very, very great photo spot that we're gonna go show you. Because I think that there's something about bringing your kids and family to the park where being able to create those memories and look back at them, and especially as they get older over time and kind of recreate those young pictures, is such a fun thing to look forward to. So we're gonna take you back there in just a moment. Let's talk a little bit about Richter Burger. If you're looking for a bite to eat, fries, burger, chicken tendies, apple pie, milkshake, kids love those things, Richter Burger's got you. On top of that, they've got some of the best fries over in Studios. We are a big fan. A little extra seasoning on them, but not spicy. Don't worry about that if that's a concern of yours. But staple food here at Richter Burger, big fan of it, and they're pretty darn quick and easy and a nice place to cool off. Know that every once in a while there will be an earthquake when you're in Richter Burger, so don't get scared. Your kids don't need to freak out. It's okay, just part of the theming. Anyway, Ben mentioned that there is a more adult area in San Francisco, which we're all a big fan of. So let's go see what kind of drinks they have. Because coming to the park is not just about having a great time with your kids, it's also about having a great time for yourself. And what better way to enjoy your time in the park with a nice boozy beverage? We're big fans, and Chez Alcatraz is one of our favorite spots to come. Particularly if you want a great drink, our favorite is the Shark Attack. It's delicious, it tastes great, and you get a show. So like, what better way to do it? Hey Ben, what's one of your favorite photo spots in the park?
Sharks.
Ben loves sharks. In fact, Molly from Mammoth Club, Ben loves sharks. If you ever want to go great white shark diving,
On my bucket list is actually great white.
he'll go with you. He will go with you. I doubt you're watching this, but if you happen to be and you made it this far, you have a buddy that'll go great white shark diving with you. Or anybody else for that matter. Anyway, photo spots. We love Bruce. We love sharks. Why is there a shark back here, Ben?
Well, because this used to be the Amityville area of Universal Studios. In fact, the Jaws ride used to be right here, so they left Bruce as an homage back to Amityville, and Universal Studios passed.
So, if you bring your kids and you plan to come on mini adventures, or even just 1, 2 over the years, you know, take a picture with Bruce, especially with the little ones, and then come back and recreate that photo later on. See how big they've grown, see how much further they can stick their head into the shark's mouth. So with that, ranking San Francisco on cool aunties, I'm gonna give this, there's just not a lot here, y'all. Like, Shea Alcatraz is holding it together.
And that's for the adults.
And unfortunately, that ride that shall not be named is pulling it down. 4 out of 10 cool aunties.
I'm not giving it an auntie score. I'm giving it a family score.
Oh. I don't even know what that means. Onward to the next area of the park, which, as Ben mentioned before when he thought we were going back to the London section, might be a little controversial. And I do agree. This one's gonna be tough. But I'm sure some of you are wondering, why in the world would the Wizarding World be controversial? Well, if your child is so young that they don't understand or know the Harry Potter stories yet, it might be a little hit or miss bringing them into this section. However, there are so many options in Diagon Alley. Even if they don't know the story, it might still be great. So let's go look at the different shops, different things to do in Diagon, and talk about if it's going to work for your kiddo. First and foremost, walking in to Diagon, you have the Leaky Cauldron. The Leaky Cauldron is going to be the main dining option when you come into Diagon Alley. But understand that they're going to be serving traditional English food options. Now, it doesn't mean that every single item is going to be different than your usual vibe, but at the same point, if your kiddo's a picky eater, I think the last thing they're gonna wanna have is like blood sausage or a very unique fishy ale beverage. One other piece to note when you come into the Leaky Cauldron is if you come here for breakfast, they have a fantastic kids pancake breakfast that we get when we come. It's plenty of food, it's delicious, and who doesn't love a good pancake?
Diagon Alley is going to have 2 shows that happen periodically throughout the day. You're going to have Tales of Beetle the Bard and Celestina Warbeck and the Banshees. I think your kiddos are probably going to enjoy Celestina just a little more, especially if your parent, particularly your dad, get pulled on stage and get to be a part of the show and dance with Celestina. There are some incredible treats for kiddos here in Diagon Alley. A few of our recommendations: butterbeer soft serve ice cream. It's delicious. It's just the chef's kiss. It's probably our favorite butterbeer treat here in Diagon Alley. You also have the cold butterbeer, which is just a staple and a classic. It is chock full of sugar, so if you get it your kid, be warned, like they're gonna be on a sugar high for a bit. Or the Ginger Newt. The Ginger Newt is probably one of our favorite sort of like ginger snappy cookies here at Diagon. You can get it over at Sugar Plums right across from the stage.
We haven't even covered everything that's in Diagon. There's a ride. Let's talk a little bit about Escape from Gringotts, because this ride is awesome. It's not the most kid-friendly though. Escape from Gringotts is a extremely fun roller coaster indoors where, let's be real, you're escaping from Gringotts. You want to check the height requirement before trying to go on it. You're going to need a ride companion if they're under 48 inches. And if they're not quite ready for roller coasters yet, this one's not going to be the one you want to start them on. But it is a good option to work up to prior to like your Rip Ride Rockets, or as we get over to Islands, your Velocicoaster. Gringotts is kind of, you know, that mid-tier roller coaster, if you will, as far as intensity goes. It's fun, it's 3D, it's extremely well themed. We love it. This is a ride I look forward to taking my niece and nephew on as they get a little older, as they're ready for a little bit more intense of a ride. Would I take them on it today? Probably not. Are you ready to rate it?
Let's rate it on a magical auntie scale.
I'm gonna give this 2 rankings. For if your kid doesn't understand the story or know the story yet for Harry Potter, and for those who do. Starting with, if your kid does know the Wizarding World story, I give Diagon Alley an 8 out of 10.
If they don't know the story, probably give it a 5 out of 10. They're still gonna have fun. The robes are super cute. Seeing your kid do magic is adorable.
Oh, always, especially like the robes for the kids, the kid-size robes.
Super cute.
Yeah, don't let them have like heat stroke in them, but like adorable nonetheless. Just a bunch of little wizard kids running around. Yeah, we love Diagon Alley, but your kid needs to know the story, or at least have a beginnings of the understanding. Just have them read the first book. Read the first book with them. That's all they need. They need to cover Horcruxes and things like that with them. They just need to understand who Harry Potter is. Like know who Hagrid is. Know what Diagon Alley kind of is. Like, oh, magic. Let's go here. Look, a Hedwig. Like that kind of stuff. Butterbeer. Just introduce them. All you need to do is cover the first book. Read it to them at bedtime. We're making our way to the back of the park. This next area also doesn't have a lot to talk about, but we love the ride. We've made our way to the back of the park. We are now in World Expo.
Now there isn't very much to talk about back here, but there is a solid ride.
World Expo holds the ride of Men in Black, Alien Attack,
Kids love blaster rides.
As well as a Coke freestyle spot. And that's about it.
Kids love shooter rides, kids love blasted aliens. They're gonna love MIB even if they have no idea what the story is.
Yeah, I think the Men in Black ride is one that you can kind of get away with. They don't need to understand the story. You just need to know shoot aliens.
And
if you can do this, you can shoot the aliens. We do advise to check the height requirements when doing this ride. If they are under 48 inches, they are going to need a ride companion. Would you say the ride's intense?
It does spin, but no, I wouldn't say it's overly intense. Like your kid's gonna ask to chain ride it if they enjoy it. So.
Yeah, like the first time they go through, some of the big alien at the end might be a little scary, but once they go through it, I think they're gonna really truly love it. And it's fun to see like what kind of score can you get? Can you shoot things and hit the targets and all of that? They're not the easiest targets to always hit. Your score might be pretty rough the first time, but once you do it, 1, 2, 3 times, you get a little bit better.
If your kid has enjoyed
Buzz Lightyear,
they're gonna enjoy kind of this next step up of Alien Blast.
And double bonus, this ride has the best AC in Universal Studios.
If you're an adult and you need a break from the heat of the Florida summer,
this is the one to do it on.
The one to do it on.
That's all this area has.
Yep.
Let's rate World Expo. I really like Men in Black. I also like the nice, cool AC. 6 out of 10.
I give it a 6 out of 10.
You wrote on the script you were going to debate me.
I'm not debating you on it. I like 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 solid. It's a good blaster ride. I love a good blaster ride.
Ben's in a better mood today as we are doing this actually. It's official. 6 out of 10 cool aunties. Before we get to this next section of the park, I want to preface not to get too attached to this area because it might be going away in the future. We have made it to the Simpsons area of the park. In Simpsons Land, it is Simpsons themed. What are the odds of that? However, I will note, Disney now owns the Simpsons, so we'll see how long this section stays at Universal. It could be gone soon. In the Simpsons area, you have one ride, you have carnival games, you have Fast Food Boulevard, and Duck Brewery if you're looking to get a nice cup of beer, glass of beer. They've got options for beer. Homer Simpson loves beer. It's fitting, right? Let's talk a little bit about this ride here in Simpsons because it is a little nausea-inducing. This ride is kid-friendly. Cool to see it only has a 35-minute wait today. It's gonna be on a big IMAX screen and it is immersive. It is quite immersive. It might be the baby powder smell, it might be the movement of the car you're sitting in, but this ride does not sit well with Ben who gets motion sick. He doesn't throw up, there's no protein spill, but it does leave him feeling a little less than desired following the ride. We don't ride it very often, but it is a more kid-friendly ride from the way the seats are, and it's just not as intense. It is quite immersive. So You gotta feel it out and see what works best for your kids. This ride is called Twirl and Hurl. It is cute, it is fun, and technically it's kind of a game where you can try to go up and down and control your cart. This is the ride we recommend if your kids are getting introduced to theme park rides and not quite as comfortable with some of the more intense options.
Simpsons is kind of the opposite of Harry Potter. They don't need to know the story to enjoy it. Like, they're gonna enjoy Twirl and Hurl. Twirl and Hurl is a nice, gentle Dumbo style attraction. They're gonna enjoy Simpsons, even though the adults might not enjoy Simpsons because it's motion sickness waiting to happen. And they're gonna enjoy the carnival games that are kind of throughout, even without knowing who or what the Simpsons are. And the adults are gonna enjoy it for the story, as well as Duff Brewery, because who doesn't enjoy a nice Duff brew?
I would rank the Simpsons area 3 out of 10 cool aunties.
I'm gonna go 4 because of like the idea that it's like you don't need to understand it. Like,
it's interesting too, because like I think maybe it's just a matter of where we choose to spend our time in the park. Like, we don't hang out in Simpsons very often, but we do go ride MIB a lot.
all the time.
So it's just more a matter of like, do you want to be outdoors more and in the carnival games and on, you know, Twirl and Hurl, or having a Duff beer? Do you want to be in the AC shooting your blasters at aliens? Pew, pew. So I think this Auntie Abba rating for Simpsons Land is something to take with a grain of salt.
Bias downwards.
That pink donut could up the rating though. However, there's another land or two we need to go see. This next one, I think the rating's gonna be high. We're entering into DreamWorks Land. Shrek, Poe, Trolls, and E.T. over here. This area of the park is made to bring your kids to. It is very kid-friendly, it is very well themed. But I would say there's one particular con that kind of draws this area of the park down. We'll see how much as we rate DreamWorks Land. But first, let's go play. There are a number of interactive sections of this part of the park, from the Puss in Boots area to be able to play, to the frog choir over from Far Far Away Land, and also some of Poppy's Playground where kids can go and play on little bouncy things, you know, on the hot plastic that they can sit and twirl around and do their stuff in. The theming is so cute. On top of the food options, although kind of grab and go setup, are delicious. You've got Trolls treats as well as Shrek's Swamp Land back there. You can get a Swamp Dog, you can get a Shrexel. We might have just had one of those and filmed it, eaten it off camera, because who needs to see somebody eating green cheese? I can tell you, I'm not gonna be on camera for that. You have the Troller Coaster, which is a great ride for little ones first getting introduced to roller coasters. It's not too intense, but it does get them introduced to what it's like, and got good entry-level roller coaster option.
DreamWorks Land is a little kids' just dream playground with Troller Coaster, the Imagination Celebration. There's tons of things to run through, get wet, climb on, jump on, interact with. Like, it's all a super cute, kid-focused area. There is not a lot of shade though, so adults are, just be prepared. Like, Kung Fu Panda is a very wet area as well though, so unless you want your kid to be squishy for the rest of the day, bring a change of socks, clothes, etc., just so that your kid isn't wet, cold, and miserable for the rest of the day.
Benjamin,
Yeah.
how many cool aunties do you give this section of the park?
I give DreamWorks Land 9 out of 10 cool aunties.
Ooh.
The only downside of DreamWorks is really the heat. And so it's something that parents really more than kiddos, because kiddos just have meltdowns, and need to consider as they're running through DreamWorks Land.
Go to the Imagination Celebration and cool off.
Oh yeah, for sure. Pro move. We're almost done. We've got one more area in Universal Studios before we make our way over to Islands of Adventure that we need to go through. I think this one might be pretty quick though as we work our way towards the front of the park.
Finishing up the Universal Studios side, we are now in the Hollywood section of the park. I bet you're like, wait, what's there to do in the Hollywood section of the park? Well, there's no rides. However, you have some dining options, as well as you've got 2 shows in the Hollywood area. On top of that, I guess you could argue that there is the parade, the mega movie parade at this time that does run through this area, but it also runs through other areas of the park. So, you know, take that with as you will. We'll focus on what's happening right now. You have 2 shows, and you have Mel's Drive-In to eat at, you have Central Park Crepes to eat at, and there are character meet and greets that take place in this section. No rides, and that's okay. Let's talk about the show offerings that they have. The 2 shows in the Hollywood section of the park are the Horror and Makeup Show, which is taking place right behind me, and down a little bit further, you have the Bourne Stuntacular. I have to say, both of these shows are not the most kid-friendly. If I were to pick between the 2 of them, I would pick the Horror and Makeup Show. If your kids don't like the sight of fake blood, that might be a little difficult. But they are funny, they are fairly kid-friendly, and they make some jokes that go over the kids' heads, and the parents will absolutely love them. The Bourne Stuntacular is also a very fun show, but it is loud, it is intense, and there are some fake gunshots that go off. So if your kids don't like loud noises, that might not be the show to take them to. Through the Hollywood section of the park, there's also character meet and greets like The Simpsons, Scoob and the Gang, Marilyn, and Betty Boop. We've seen all of those happening in this area. But I would also ask, how many times have your kids watched any of those or know who they are? So that might be a miss. If you're looking to eat something in the Hollywood section, we really enjoy Mel's Drive-In. Burger and chicken tendies, you just can't go wrong with it. On top of that, if you want a nice milkshake, you have Schwab's Drugstore, which has some really fun milkshake ice cream options. Or if you're looking to be a little fancy, I don't know if they're up kids' alleys, but you do have the crepe in Central Park Crepes. Might be a little bit different than what your kids are used to eating, but at the same point, good to mix things up, keep them on their toes. Well, time to rank the Hollywood section.
What are we ranking? Food?
Shows and food, meet and greets. I really like the Hollywood section personally. I enjoy it, but at the same point, Ben and I like to come to the parks and just enjoy the ambiance at times. So bringing kids, you're probably just gonna pass right through it and go to DreamWorks, let's be real.
Honestly.
I'm gonna give this section 3 out of 10 cool aunties.
I'm gonna give it 4.5 for AC and seating. Yes, you might traumatize your kid at Bourne, and they'll be scared out of their willies at the Horror Makeup Show, but the parents need seating and AC.
Okay. This is my rating scale though, so 3 out of 10 cool aunties. That wraps up Universal Studios, but we told you we were gonna go to both parks so that you can plan your trip accordingly. Time to make our way to Islands, maybe get a little AC, freshen up if you will, and let's see how Islands compares to Studios as far as kid-friendliness.
Very, very different.
Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure are just incredibly, incredibly different. And so, when you're planning, if you only have one park to bring your kiddos to because they're only gonna make it for one park, or you're doing one park a day, you need to consider pros and cons and weigh out the pros and cons to go into either Universal Studios or Islands of Adventure. On the right side of Islands of Adventure, as you move through Port Adventure, you have a candy shop because you gotta fuel for your adventures throughout Islands. You also have a Christmas shop because you just never know what your family needs or what gifts you need to get people for Christmas. Your kids are absolutely gonna love either the Grinch stuff, the Earl the Squirrel, or even some Harry Potter merch. Everybody needs a pair of Harry Potter pajamas.
Some other pieces to note about the Port of Entry area is the music is adorable. Now, I don't know if kids will necessarily think about it or notice it, but I very much believe that it is one of those songs, the music that you'll hear, that will just forever live in your mind, and will be a core memory for later on when you bring them back and be like, oh my gosh, I remember this specifically the first time you ever took me to Universal. So I think that's worth noting as well when it comes to the Port of Entry section. All right, Ben,
Yes.
rating Port of Entry.
Port of Entry.
Kid friendliness.
2 out of 10.
There's no rides. There's some great AC. There's some good food options here and a lot of souvenirs.
A lot of souvenirs.
I give it a 3 out of 10 Auntie Obs. Cool aunties.
Are we going right or are we going left?
We're going left. let's head to Marvel, which as you walk into the park, it is easy to have the Hulk grab your attention. So let's head that way.
Marvel is a bit dichotomous. You want to love it for your kiddos, but like it just really doesn't pan out. The rides aren't really for kids. Like, you're not going to put your kid on Hulk. You're probably, depending on the age, not going to put him on Spider-Man. You're definitely not going to put him on Doctor Doom. I guess you could put him on Stormforce unless you spin like Ob does, and then there's no way. So the rides are kind of out. Food, got Cafe 4. No, just don't. The food's not good unless you're doing the character dining. And there's better places at Captain America Diner. So what you're left with is the meet and greets. And the meet and greets are amazing. Whether your kids love Captain America or Spider-Man, or even if they love the villains like Green Goblin or Doctor Doom, like the character meet and greets are what is here for the kids, plus the theming. Do plan on when you're trying to see Spider-Man though, because that Spider-Man line can get long.
One of my favorite sections of the Marvel area is the lemon slush stand, by the way. When it's hot out and you want to cool off, those lemon slushes hit the spot. Like, big fan. So, Marvel, a lot for your kids to look forward to. From young to be able to do the meet and greets to as they get older for more rides and more engagement in the area. So, let's see what we put down for our overall rating of Marvel Superhero Island. Hey Ben.
Hey, yeah.
Did you mention they have an Auntie Anne's at all?
Oh yeah.
That gets
That's
bonus
about the
points.
best dining they have in Marvel Superhero Island.
Cafe 4, eh.
No, it's not.
Captain American Diner?
No.
Okay.
It's a pass.
Okay, yeah.
Auntie Anne's though. Smash.
Heck yes. Overall rating for Marvel Superhero Island?
5 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10. I like the idea of giving kids something to look forward to doing.
Those rides are just too intense though for most little kids.
And if you take them on Stormforce,
They're gonna be.
it's up to you how fast you want to go. If you know the layout of Islands of Adventure and the route we're taking, doing our loop through here, you already know what the next section's going to be. If you don't, the next section's really cute, but the kids might just not know what anything in it is. In fact, Ben doesn't know most of what's in this next section. We just think it's adorable. What do Heathcliff, the Phantom, and Betty Boop all have in common? Kids don't know who they are. In fact, I don't think most millennials even do these days. Like, I remember reading the Sunday morning comics growing up. I liked them. Didn't really follow them. The Vikings are pretty fun. Hagar the Horrible. I remember that one. But, you know, like, this section doesn't really resonate as strongly with me as it does with some of the, let's be real, older audience. Popeye's great. The meet and greets in this section are great. The biggest downfall of this section is just the connection of what these meet and greets are, what these themed sections are, and if you know it or not. But we do like the AC and the merch. And the food's all right too. In Toon Lagoon, you've got 2 rides and a kids area. So the 2 rides are Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls and Popeye and Bluto's Build Rat Barges. Those rides are water rides. Now, if you enjoy walking around the park, getting on a water ride, and leaving with soggy feet, this place is for you. If that's not your jive, I'd avoid these water rides. Now, I've heard it both ways, that you get more wet when you ride Dudley Do-Rights, or you get more soaked when you do Popeye and Bluto's. I think it really just depends on the weight distribution, how many people are on the ride with you, and the physics behind all of that. Nonetheless, if I were to pick one to say you're gonna get absolutely drenched on it, my money would be on Popeyes. Rating the Toon Lagoon section of the park, what do you give it?
4 out of 10.
I would agree. There is not a ton for kids in the Toon Lagoon section. On top of that, they're not gonna know who the characters are.
There's a lot of the rides the kids might enjoy, like the water rides, like Dudley Do-Rights and Popeyes, but let's be honest, like the parents aren't. So if the parents aren't gonna enjoy it, like it goes down in my book, because it's like,
Yeah.
parents aren't going to be happy to be wet and squishy for the whole
Right?
day.
Like, you're gonna have to go on those rides with them. So not only are they gonna be wet, you're gonna be wet. I'd say save Toon Lagoon for the last part of your day if you're going to do those rides. Come back and finish with them. Get all wet and squishy, then go home. We've got a couple more spots in Islands. This next area, I think will be a little surprising.
Yeah.
Because there's some big rides in this next section. We have made our way to the Jurassic Park section of the park, but starting strong with the Kong ride in this area, which is not Jurassic Park thing. It's themed, it's Kong themed. Might be a little intense. There's a lot of skulls as you go through the entry of the ride. It is a bus style attraction. It's no longer 3D, it's only 2D. And the animatronic of Kong at the end is enormous. Overall, the ride is not super intense, but it could be a bit jarring for some young kids. Although, height requirement-wise, most kids do get to ride it. So, would I take my 6-year-old nephew on this ride? Probably not. It'd be close. I'd like to. I think he could handle the ride intensity from the nature of like the vehicle, but from the theming of it, I do think it's a little scary. You're getting chased by dinosaurs, and then there's a giant ape, Kong. I think as he gets a little bit older, this ride will definitely be one to be able to do. Depends on how brave your kiddos are, right? Like, each kid's different. Some would absolutely love this ride. But for now, this ride, say move on to the next option in the Jurassic Park area, which, surprisingly, there are actually some good options for young kids in this section. I think people would be surprised to know that, but let's go show you.
Like, we get that Kong is like not officially part of Jurassic Park, but like, isn't it close enough? Like, can't we just like lump it in? Because like that's kind of what we do. Is like, Kong is the end of Jurassic Park, and then like Jurassic Park ends at Hogsmeade or the Lost Continent. Like, isn't it good enough?
There is a dedicated space for kids in the Jurassic Park area, which I don't think many people think about. When you come to Jurassic Park, you're thinking Velocicoaster, you're thinking Raptor Meet and Greet, you're thinking Jurassic Park River Adventure. But they have a section for kids too. So kind of a nice little area as you make your way through this section of the park to be able to pop into and let your kids run and play for a little while you grab a nice drink. Here we are, Camp Jurassic. Camp Jurassic has some really cool areas where you can spray water, you can walk in tunnels, you can go down slides. We're not gonna lie to you, we've played in Camp Jurassic during Orlando Informer events when there aren't any kids around, and it is very fun. Now, this area of the park does get busy because when there are a number of people here and the kids wanna go play, it's packed. It's more packed than a McDonald's play place. If I were you, and we've seen it happen, throw an air tag on your kids so you know where they're at in there, because it's easy to get lost. Now, there are some dining options in Jurassic Park also for you to be aware of, like Thunder Falls Terrace and Burger Digs. Both great options. If you're looking for a little bit more sit-down dining option, I recommend Thunder Falls Terrace. They have some really good raptor wings in there. If you like plantains, you can get those. And my favorite is the key lime pie cheesecake. Now, it's hot out today. We're not feeling some heavy ribs or wings or cheesecake, but if you need something a little more sustainable, that's the place to go. We'll make our way through. We're heading towards River Adventure, fun ride, not very kid-friendly, and the raptor encounter. That one is up for interpretation, whether it's worth bringing your kids to or not. Let's talk raptor encounter. In Jurassic Park, you have two raptor encounter options. You have a full-grown adult raptor where you get to meet Blue, and she's vicious. The team members that work the raptor encounter are wonderful. They are hilarious when you listen to what they're saying, and it's quite the experience. Raptor encounter is scary. The adults cringe when they do it. But you also have the opportunity to meet a baby raptor as well, which would be a little less intimidating, a little more friendly and fun. So if you have the opportunity to take your kiddos to the raptor encounter, ask who is out for the day. They come out in intervals and different options, and every once in a while baby raptors are doing meet and greets elsewhere in the Jurassic Park section. But you don't always have to do it, but I recommend at least like poking your head in, taking a look. Right now Blue's gonna come out. She's intense. You've been going all morning. You're hot, you're tired, and you don't want to be outside. You want some air conditioning. Visit the Discovery Center. The Discovery Center is nice and cooled off, and there are options for your kids to engage with while you're in here, enjoying the AC, and they can play. Because, you know, they never run out of energy, they just get cranky. So, in the Discovery Center, there's a lot of different options for kids, from looking at dinosaur eggs to becoming their own dinosaur to finding fossils to just looking at dinosaurs in this section. It's pretty darn cool, and it's actually cool, which is nice. In fact, I am thoroughly enjoying this after such a long afternoon through both of the parks. All right, Jurassic Park at Islands of Adventure, and its overall cool anti rating out of 10. This area's got more for kids than people imagine.
Yeah, there are some hidden gems for sure with Camp Jurassic and the Discovery Center that are really, really fun.
I would give this area of the park, for my cool anti rating, a 7 out of 10.
I was gonna go 6. I'll agree on a 7 though, because like the Discovery Center, I think, especially like the fun activities, as corny as they may be at times, like are very entertaining for little kids.
By the amount of kids running around here right now, it's a little chaotic, but I also think that means that it's so much more kid-friendly than other areas. On top of that, I really think Camp Jurassic's friendly. I appreciate the AC in this area. I appreciate the food in the Jurassic Park area, and I think the raptor meet and greets, although scary to meet Blue, are pretty darn cool to show kids.
Who doesn't love dinos?
Right. Well, we're continuing to make our way around Islands of Adventure. We have to head back up the stairs and then over to the Wizarding World. Before we leave Jurassic Park, I do want to give a shout out to the watering hole for not only keeping us hydrated, but providing some delicious adult beverages so you can sustain through your day, particularly the Fossilizer and the Prehistoric Punch. It's a great little adult stop so that you can stay sane when bringing kids to Universal. Not to beat a dead horse, but the Wizarding World is a lot like the Wizarding World in Hogsmeade is a lot like the Wizarding World in Diagon Alley. If your kids don't know about Harry Potter, they don't understand the story, this area is going to be hard to resonate with them. If they do, they might love this section. So we're gonna rate this area accordingly, but first let's go over the rides and offerings that they have in Hogsmeade. Starting off Hogsmeade, we have Forbidden Journey. Now, this ride may be too intense for kids, specifically being a dark ride on a Kuka arm with quite a bit of movement. I know it makes Ben a bit queasy. If you get motion sick or your kids get motion sick, this one might be a tough one to take them on. However, I do recommend that if possible, to at least walk them through the queue, especially if they know the Harry Potter story. The queue of Forbidden Journey is the best themed Harry Potter queue, in our opinion. We love Forbidden Journey, but friendliness for kids, Theming though, fantastic. Just across from Forbidden Journey though, you have Flight of the Hippogriff, which is a kids themed coaster, adorable in its own, but you also get to see Buckbeak. Now, right now, it is popular. It's a 45-minute wait. They only have one cart running at this time, and so with this being one of the main or only kid-focused rides in the Hogsmeade area, you're going to probably end up waiting for a while just to take your kiddo on a coaster that lasts about a minute. But if you want to give them the experience, I suggest letting them ride Flight of the Hippogriff. It's very cute. It's a lot like Troller Coaster. It's not the smoothest of coasters ever, but it is adorable. And you get to see Hagrid's hut, you get to see Buckbeak. We also should point out this stage. In Hogsmeade, they have two shows, just like over in Diagon Alley. These shows are the Triwizard Tournament Spirit Rally and the Frog Choir. They're both really cute, especially, again, harping on that whole, if they know about Harry Potter. They're not as interactive as like Stellestina Warbeck. You're not going to get called on stage, or the adult is not going to get called on stage. But typically you can do photos after the Frog Choir with the characters, and sometimes with the Spirit Rally people as well. So fun to watch. You're also in direct sunlight though, so be prepared for that. I'm gonna go find some shade. It's hot out. Just like Diagon, there are spell spots throughout Hogsmeade, so we really enjoy being able to buy a wand or bring our wand with us and do spells throughout this area. We highly recommend, if you're gonna come to Hogsmeade and you want to do spell spots, or you just don't want to deal with the crowds, come for EPA. This area is so much more empty during early park admission than any other time of the day, and you can enjoy the immersive experience a bit easier. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention riding the Hogwarts Express. Now, the Hogwarts Express, you have to have a park-to-park ticket to ride. That said, it is a great ride for kids to go on. It is solely transportation to get you from one park to the other. Like I mentioned, you have to have that park-to-park ticket, but they get to ride a train. Like, how cool is that? Not to mention the story that you get to see that's different from Islands to Studios and Studios back to Islands. There are different experiences as you ride the Hogwarts Express. It's not a scary ride. Yes, the theming, especially with Dementors coming past your cabin, might be a little scary for some young kids, but overall, it's great. So if there's one Harry Potter ride to introduce them to, ride a train. Why not? And you get to sit down in some air conditioning for a little bit. All right. Hogsmeade.
Hogsmeade. Hoggy Hogwarts.
Very similar to Diagon. If kids don't know the story, that's going to be tough. Magic's always fun.
Magic's always fun.
And riding a train's fun.
And they do have Hippogriff.
And Hippogriff is cute, although a longer wait, especially right now, only being down to one train. I would give Hogsmeade 5 out of 10 cool aunties.
That's kind of where I was leaning as well. Diagon does have a few more interactive, like wand spots, as well as I think currently today, it being kind of a sunny day, like having a little bit of overhead cover over in Diagon Alley does play to the overall experience.
On top of that, I think just in general, Diagon's a little bit more kid-friendly from the idea of like the Leaky Cauldron has more space, so it's a little easier to navigate. And the shows in Diagon, because they pull a person from the audience, I just think it makes it a little more engaging versus being in direct sunlight over here for the Triwizard Spirit Rally and the Frog Choir.
On to the transient land.
This next one's gonna be quick. Now, there's not a lot in Lost Continent. Let's be real. There used to be, but things have changed over the years. One piece that I will talk about, there's a talking fountain. Talking fountain will talk to your kiddos, which is pretty neat. He'll also spray water at kiddos at times, which is concerning. Aside from a talking fountain, the Lost Continent has some dining areas that are all right. We do love the good desert kebab house. We do like fire eaters. I'm not sure how much kids like to eat gyros, but chicken tendies for the win, right? Seems to be the go-to throughout this video. That said, there is one particular dining area that does hold true in Lost Continent that we can rely on regularly, and that is Mythos. If it wasn't for Mythos, I don't know if I'd have much to say about Lost Continent. Mythos is delicious. They were rated the best theme park restaurant, and consistently they are busy. If you're looking to visit Mythos, I recommend that you get a reservation ahead of time, because sometimes it is hit or miss whether you can walk on in. As far as menu at Mythos, if you're looking for some particular options, personally, I love the chef's signature Greek salad with some blackened grilled chicken on the top. Ben likes the scallop risotto. It is going to fill you up, but you're gonna love it. Like, it's delicious. On top of that, our go-to appetizers, we are all about the hummus, we're all about the spanakopita dip, and It's up for debate which dessert is our favorite. Ben is a huge fan of their bread pudding, specifically the cinnamon blueberry bread pudding, I believe is what it's called. That was a seasonal one, it's not always on the menu. But what is their gooey chocolate banana cake. If there's one thing I always want to get at Mythos, it is that cake. Mythos is holding Lost Continent together right now. And I don't think the kids will even care about it, to be perfectly honest. They're like, yeah, give me those chicken tendies over at Fire Eaters. Lost Continent, cool anti-ranking.
Cool anti-ranking.
You think people are just wondering what that even means? Because I don't even know what it means at this point, but I just like it.
2 out of 10?
I was gonna say 3 out of 10, so let's go with 2.5 out of 10.
If Mythos wasn't here, it would get a 0. Actually, that's a lie because the kebab spot always smells delicious.
Yeah.
And hey, if your kids want forever pearls, like
oh yeah.
theme park pearls, everybody wants a theme park pearl.
Strike it up to a 3 now. 3 cool aunties out of 10 because of forever pearls. Hey, how come you never let me go get a forever pearl? Can we try that one of these days?
No.
We're gonna visit Seuss Landing. Talk about this adorable section of the park. This one's one of my favorites. And arguably, this one is the most kid-friendly. Story time. When we decided to film this, there were 3 areas of the parks that I thought of that were like, that's where we're taking kids. Minions Alley, DreamWorks Land, and of course, Seuss Landing. Seuss Landing is specifically themed for kids. Makes sense, it's Dr. Seuss, they're kids' books. The rides are specifically for kids, the shops are for kids, the meet and greets are for kids, and just the overall ambiance, adorably well done and engaging for kids. Now, they're bright colors, there are wonky names, there's no straight line in this entire area of the park because it is so immersively focused on Dr. Seuss and his wonky creativeness. I wish I could rhyme like him as I'm doing this whole section. I'm not that creative. But the shops, fun, the rides, excellent. There's nothing that's extremely intense. Everything is made so your kid can have the best experience possible. Let's start talking about the ride options that you have when you come to Seuss Landing. One of Ben's personal favorites is the High in the Sky Seuss Trolley Train ride. This ride is adorable and it has 2 different tracks where you get to go and hear the story from the Sneetches to the alphabet of Dr. Seuss. It takes you all around Seuss Landing, high in the sky, and although up there, it's not intense. You're not flying on that track. You're taking a nice mosey around the park, and you get to see some pretty cool sights. I just think that it's really well done. A nice way to get off your feet and enjoy seeing all of Seuss Landing. And personally, if you're here during Christmas time, the holidays at Universal, you can see what this area looks like lit up for Grinchmas. And I recommend doing High in the Sky, especially if you want to see this area looking as adorably themed as it really can be with all of the Christmas lights. Next, you have the Carousel, my personal favorite. The wait time for the Carousel typically is so low, unless the parks are packed. But the Carousel is adorable. You get a ride on some of the Dr. Seuss themed creatures, which I'd come up with names, but again, I'm not that creative. They've got cows, they've got what looks like, I don't know, maybe a llama, birds. Some of them move up and down, most of them do, and some of them do stay stationary, which is wonderful for the kids that are still kind of getting used to what a carousel is like. But I personally love riding this because it's a nice quick ride, it's enjoyable, and it makes you feel like a kid at heart. Additional rides, there's 2 more in Seuss area. You have a 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish, which you might get a little wet when you ride it. This is a lot like Twirl and Hurl over in the Simpsons area where you're gonna ride a fish, you're gonna go up and down, but also there's some water that sprays. Kids love water. And you're gonna wanna listen to the directions as you ride so that you can avoid the water. Or maybe do the opposite. Ben and I would do that, where, oh boy, You could do the opposite and try and actually get hit by the water, which is also fun in itself. But this one's super kid friendly. If you're under 48 inches, you will need a riding companion. But you know, I think you can expect that when you're bringing young kids to the parks. And then the final ride of Seuss Landing is Cat in the Hat. Now, Cat in the Hat has excellent AC. It is an interesting ride in its own. It spins a little bit. It's not intense by any means, but the story, if you haven't read The Cat in the Hat or kids don't know it, the thing 1 and thing 2 might come off as a little creepy. But nonetheless, worth taking your kiddos on, let them experience it, enjoy some nice AC, and get off your feet for a couple minutes. We particularly like to ride this one when we're cooling off throughout our afternoon walking through the parks. But what's crazy is Seuss Landing has all of those options, but we're not done yet. The first that I want to point out is the If I Ran a Zoo area, which clearly Benjamin just went and played in for a little while.
I got scared.
You got scared?
Got lost.
You got lost. Tell me a little bit about If I Ran a Zoo, since you've been hanging out in the kids' play areas today.
It's a fun little place. Imagine like the old malls that used to have like the padded little things that you jumped on and climbed on and were kind of gross because you didn't want to really touch them. Like that's If I Ran the Zoo.
That sounds like something kids would love.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some interesting areas in there, and sometimes there's some mist, a fun area that kids can play around in for a while. The last section, though, that we have not talked about for Seuss Landing is the final dining spot for a nice grab-and-go bite, which is Ben's favorite place and the very first spot we ever visited for something to eat when we came to Universal.
Green eggs and ham.
If there's one extremely well-themed dining option in Seuss Landing, it's green eggs and ham. Circus McGurkus is fantastic, but this space, when it comes to growing up and reading Dr. Seuss books, like who can turn down green eggs and ham tots or a can of Who hash? There's other options here as well, like pizza tots, which are delicious, but our personal favorite are the buffalo chicken tots. Not super kid-friendly necessarily, unless your kids love buffalo chicken, but they taste great. So if you're looking for a quick grab-and-go option, grab some tots. You've got some interesting options from carnitas tots, green eggs and ham tots, pizza tots, Who hash, vegan tots, and buffalo chicken tots. And let's be real, Universal knows how to do tots right, so you're not gonna miss on this one. Ben already dove into his tots. Before we leave Seuss Landing,
Yep.
overall, Cool Auntie ranking. 9 out of 10 cool aunties. Let's go find some AC, enjoy some tots, and give an overall score for how kid-friendly Universal really is. We have officially gone through both studios and islands to determine how kid-friendly is Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. Now, originally when we planned this, we had rankings pieced out, and I did the math, and I had an actual grade score out of 150. But unfortunately, we changed some of our ratings partway through this, and I don't know what they added up to.
You know, that's the greatest part, though. Is you come in with a notion that you're like, hey, it's gonna be a certain way. We think it's gonna be this kid-friendly, and it just doesn't pan out as you're walking through, and you're like, well, this is a little better than I thought it is.
Or it's a little bit worse.
This is a little worse than I thought it would be. And so that is the great part about being at the parks is it'll change.
It will. And not to mention, as your kids get more introduced to the parks, as they get more experience and start riding things like Roller Coaster and Storm Force, they'll get more accustomed to the intensity of the rides, and honestly, the scoring will adapt as they get older and enjoy all that Universal has to offer.
Is Universal more kid-friendly than Disney? Of course not. But is Universal more adult-friendly?
Oh,
Parent-friendly, I guess, is probably the more apt term than Disney. And I would also say probably yes. There are going to be far more things to do for the parents, but there's also going to be things to do for the kiddos.
I think that's one of the reasons we enjoy Universal and look forward to bringing our niece and nephew here in the future, is because we absolutely love this place and we know there's options for them to enjoy when they're here. Does it mean they'll get to do everything in the park right now? No. But it also means that there's a lot of fun options to look forward to doing with them when they get older.
I think you should absolutely consider bringing your kids and having a great family vacation and great family adventures here at Universal.
If you got anything out of this video, or if you're looking to learn more about Universal, check out the videos we've linked below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.